Ever heard of Dracula, the king of vampires? The pale-skinned, feigned nobleman who haunts the night. Well, the real man who inspired that legendary monster was far more terrifying than any fictional creature. His name was Vlad III, Prince of Wallachia, but history remembers him by a much more chilling title, Vlad the Impaler. And trust me, he earned it. Hell, how does a medieval prince become the basis for the most famous vampire in history? It wasn't because he drank blood or turned into a bat. It was because his cruelty was so legendary, so extreme, that it echoed through the centuries. Today, we're diving deep into the dark and complex history of the real Dracula, a man whose brutal methods were designed to protect his homeland but ended up creating a legend of pure terror. To understand Vlad, you have to understand the world he was born into. We're talking about the 15th century, a time of constant warfare in Eastern Europe. The powerful Ottoman Empire was expanding, swallowing up smaller Christian kingdoms one by one. Wallachia, a small principality in what is now modern-day Romania, was caught right in the middle, a buffer state between the mighty kingdom of Hungary and the relentless Ottoman advance. It was a place where survival meant being ruthless and leadership required an iron will. Vlad was born in 1431 in Transylvania. His father, Vlad II, was a member of a prestigious knightly order called the Order of the Dragon. This order was created by the Holy Roman Emperor to defend Christianity against the Ottoman Empire. The symbol of the order was a dragon, and in Romanian, the word for dragon is drac. So, Vlad II became known as Vlad Dracul, or Vlad the Dragon. This meant his son, Vlad III, was known as Dracula, which simply means son of the dragon. At first, it was a title of honor, a symbol of his noble, dragon-fighting heritage. But over time, the meaning of Drac shifted in the Romanian language to also mean devil. Son of the Dragon slowly morphed into Son of the Devil, a fitting name for the man he would become. Vlad's childhood was anything but peaceful. To secure a fragile peace with the Ottomans, his father sent him and his younger brother, Radu, to the Ottoman court as political hostages. Imagine being a young boy, torn from your home and family, and forced to live among your enemies. Vlad spent years there, learning their language, their culture, and most importantly, their methods of warfare and control. He saw firsthand the power of fear and the effectiveness of absolute, brutal authority. It's believed that this is where he first witnessed the gruesome practice of impalement, a horrific execution method the Ottomans often used to make an example of their enemies. These years hardened him, filling him with a deep-seated hatred for the Ottomans and a burning desire to one day free his homeland from their grasp. When he finally returned to Wallachia, he found it in chaos. His father and older brother had been betrayed and brutally murdered by rival noblemen, known as boyars. Vlad was determined to reclaim his father's throne and, more importantly, to exact his revenge. He seized power in 1456 and immediately set about consolidating his rule. His first order of business was to deal with the treacherous boyars who had destroyed his family. And this is where the legend of Vlad the Impaler truly begins. According to the stories, on Easter Sunday, Vlad invited all the boyars and their families to a grand feast at his court in Targovict. He asked them how many princes they had served in their lifetimes. Unsuspecting, they boasted of having outlived many rulers, thinking it was a testament to their influence. But Vlad saw it as proof of their disloyalty. He saw them as vultures who destabilized the kingdom for their own gain. His response was swift and terrible. He had the older boyars and their families seized. Right there, in the courtyard, he had them all impaled on sharpened wooden stakes. The younger, healthier ones were marched 50 miles to the ruins of an old castle. There, he forced them into slave labor, making them rebuild the fortress with their bare hands until they dropped from exhaustion. This castle would become his infamous Ponari citadel, perched high on a cliff, a symbol of his absolute power. This single, brutal act sent a clear message to anyone who might dare to challenge him. Loyalty was absolute, and treason would be met with unimaginable suffering. Vlad's favorite method of execution, impalement, was chosen for its psychological impact. It was a slow, agonizing death. Victims were placed on a thick, sharpened pole, which was then raised upright. Gravity would do the rest, slowly pulling the person's body down onto the stake, a process that could take hours, sometimes even days. It was a public spectacle designed to inspire terror and obedience. Vlad didn't just use it on traders. He used it on criminals, foreign merchants who broke his trade laws, and anyone he deemed an enemy of the state. He was creating a new kind of order in Wallachian order built on fear. But his cruelty wasn't just reserved for his own people. His main goal was always to defend Wallachia from the Ottomans. In 1462, the Ottoman Sultan, Mehmed II, the same man who had conquered Constantinople, decided to crush Vlad once and for all. He led a massive army, perhaps 3 times the size of Vlad's forces, into Wallachia. Vlad knew he couldn't win a direct battle, so he turned to guerrilla warfare and psychological terror. He poisoned wells, burned villages, and launched surprise night raids on the Ottoman camp. In one famous attack, Vlad himself, disguised as a Turk, infiltrated the camp with a small force, attempting to assassinate the Sultan in his tent. The attempt failed, but it sowed chaos and fear among the Ottoman troops. But his most legendary act of defiance was yet to come. As Sultan Mehmed and his army advanced towards Vlad's capital, they came across a horrifying sight. Outside the city walls, Vlad had created what became known as the Forest of the Impaled. It was a vast field, stretching for miles, filled with the rotting corpses of some 20,000 captured Ottoman soldiers and Bulgarian collaborators, each one impaled on a stake. The stakes were arranged in concentric circles, with the highest stakes reserved for the highest-ranking captives. The stench of death was overwhelming. The sight was so grotesque, so inhuman, that even the battle-hardened Ottoman army was reportedly shaken to its core. The Sultan himself, a man who had conquered cities, was said to have turned back, acknowledging that he could not win a land from a man capable of such monstrous deeds. So, was Vlad the Impaler a monster? To his enemies? Absolutely. The story spread by his German and Ottoman foes painted him as a bloodthirsty sadist. But in Romania, his legacy is more complex. To many Romanians, even today, he is seen as a national hero, a brutal, yes, but a necessary one. He was a fierce defender of their independence, a ruler who brought law and order to a chaotic land, and one of the few leaders who successfully stood up to the seemingly unstoppable Ottoman Empire. He fought to protect his people and his Christian faith against overwhelming odds. The Dracula we know from Bram Stoker's 1897 novel is a work of fiction. Stoker borrowed the name and some of the Transylvanian setting, but the vampiric elements were his own creation, blended with European folklore. The real Vlad the Impaler never drank blood or feared garlic. His horror was all too human. He was a product of a violent time, a ruler who used ultimate terror as a weapon of war and an instrument of state policy. His story is a chilling reminder that sometimes the truth of history can be far more disturbing than any supernatural tale. He was the son of the dragon, a prince who became a legend, and a man whose brutal legacy is forever etched in the annals of history. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the dark past. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next historical deep dive. See you next time.